haven't pressed you.
Oh,
Yeah.
did you press that, Christel?
I did not, but welcome everybody.
Christel. So I would like to introduce myself, obviously Krista and Christel, and how we have changed our life with it. My name is Filamento. Pretty much I got to know Christel through Simone. It was a couple of years ago that I've done a bar session. Oops, sorry. I've done a bar session, which maybe people that they know access, they know what I'm talking about. People that they don't know what it is, one day you might know what it is. So I've done this session, and then I left. I said, I don't know. I started to justify myself. Money, no money, it's too expensive. I don't know what I'm doing. But I always had a sense behind it that life wouldn't ever been just wake up, walk the dog, go home, make money, and come back home and walk the dog and go back home to sleep. So I was like, it can't be life just that. So, and I was always searching for something. And one day Simone was like, after 1 year, she goes, man, I have a look at this one. And she sent me she sent me a YouTube link. And I was like, oh, Simone, seriously, again. So I clicked it, I clicked it on it. And this lady, which is Christel, she appeared. And I don't even know what it was. I don't even remember what was the first one that I watched. But I had a sense of this with it. I said, this lady, she's talking about something that I bloody love it. I don't know what it is. I don't know what she's talking about, this tool of access. I don't know what she's talking in pod. I said, Jesus Christ, what is all of it? But I was, that's his, I like it. And I started to listen. She had heaps of YouTube things. So if you Google it and put it on YouTube, you will find a lot of free things that she gives. And I started like that. And from then it's been 1 year and a half that pretty much I've been following her, doing classes with her. I remember for 2 of the memberships that she has 2 classes. We study the books, we study money. And she's just been an inspiration for me. People that they know me, I wouldn't ever chosen to be on a Zoom and talk like that. It's like, oh, she's talking about those things. God knows what she's doing. If it was 2 years ago, this wouldn't ever been me. And, you know, I really have to thank and, you know, be grateful for this lady that she showed me a different possibility. She showed me that life is not just waking up and do the old ABC thing, but that you have choices in life, that you can choose, and you pretty much the artist of your life. So that was my experience with this wonderful woman. And to be honest, I can't wait that she starts to go a little bit more talking about what she does, business, money, and all the things that she involved with it. It's just a contribution.
My first question for you is, what are the most relevant changes in your life and business? What have they been for you?
Well, I made so many different changes, you guys. This, you know, creating your life is it's ongoing. And you start where you start. And as simple as that sounds, it's pretty profound. It's just like wherever you're starting is okay. And so, you know, there were the times when I was just starting to create where I literally got myself down to my last $500 in credit, not even cash, and didn't know how I was going to outcreate it, and just made a demand of myself and somehow did it. And then the other times where I've gotten to a plateau and I had to make another demand of myself to like step back up into my life and create again. And so living is this ongoing creation of either what really works for you or what really doesn't. And you get to be the source of all of that. And so like pausing and kind of taking stock and going, you know, what's really working about my life and what's really not working that well, and what can I choose to have something greater, begins to stimulate that creative edge that allows more to show up. So for me, like I guess the most relevant tool that I use constantly is assessment, like presence with what is, and really looking at it and going, is this enough for me? Do I actually want to have something different? And if I'd like to have something different, what would that be? And that's what keeps me engaged in this ongoing creation of living, which is really what money and business is. I had this funny moment with money, I don't even know when, 3 years ago now, something, where I don't know what I was doing. I was doing something with money, some spreadsheet work, whatever, blah, blah. And it kind of hit me that in my world, I was functioning as if this journey with money was going to end at some point. Like at some point, this would be done. Like I would be done. We'll do this and then we're done. We'll do this and then we're done. And that was just kind of how I was playing with it. And I didn't even realize it until I realized it. And then I looked at it and I was like, wow, money's never done. Like if I treat it as if it's going to finish at some point, you know, like, phew, got enough money coming in, and then I would just like relax or something. And then I would freak out. Like it was this relax, freak out thing that I was doing. And when I realized like money's never done, it's like this on, it's actually the creation of living that like is always on, you're always in it. Something shifted in my world and I was able to access a different continuity, I guess, but not like consistency, just like continuity of energy going, okay, so this is ongoing. So I get to create this ongoing. What do I want to be the source of? Would I like to be the source of struggle? Because I'm very good at that. Do I want to be the source of like succeeding with money? What would even succeeding with money be like for me? What am I not really looking at that I could look at, that I could actively create if I was willing to see it and know it and choose it? And so that's been the thing that really affected things, how things show up, how I create my business and living and money and all of that, was being the source of continually increasing amounts of money, continually increasing amounts of impact, because those two things are money for me. Like it's probably not even the cash that's money for me. It's the reward of, you know, seeing you guys change and be you and like, and getting to be a part of all of that. So yeah, I don't know that answered your question, but that's really that for me.
That's beautiful. That's one of the things that really got me to be more close to you and see that when you talk, actually, this is the truth. That's what you actually live and breathe. So at the moment, where do you live, Christel? And, you know, how do you expand your, you know, all the access consciousness to all those areas?
Yeah, well, we're living in Panama right now, and it looks like we're going to kind of be fluid in between Colombia and Panama and then whatever else we choose. And, you know, just the question I'm always functioning is from consciousness, what do you require from me? And what can I contribute and who can contribute to me? Really, those three things. Like, and what can I choose today to expand the business right away is probably a fourth thing that I just kind of always naturally ask. So it shows up in so many different ways. Like we are, you know, Andres is an incredible connector in terms of just calling people and reaching out. And so in Spanish, we're, you know, calling people. We've found the bars facilitators on the website and we're connecting with them and engaging with them and their people and what they're creating. And, you know, there's just so many different ways to expand business. And so I got the words for this from Joy of Business, which is, what are all the means, methods, and modalities that I can use to expand this in the world? It's just like, what are the 85 billion different ways that this can grow? And that right there grows any business. It's like, what are all the means? What are all the methods? What are all the modalities that I can use for this to grow? And so you just start, it's like, you know this, Filomena. I mean, you just reach out to people and you connect and you do the thing and put your hands on heads and whatever. And then things just kind of naturally emerge from all of that energy.
Okay, so when you're talking about expanding your own business and all of that, I feel like my own energy levels within myself, and I might be having a huge point of view on this because my body has been really going through some sort of experience. How do you then create when you're not feeling like creating?
Well, it's like you just got to include your body. And this is this is ongoing and something I'm constantly learning and playing with. It's just including your body and going, okay, body, what do you require? I think the other part of it, though, is also not letting your feelings run you. So there's this kind of dance of like, okay, so I don't feel like it. Is it required sometimes? And then there's other times where your body's just being really loud and you just need to take care of it, right? Or before it gets really loud, you just know that your body is. But if you include everything about you, it makes everything easier because you get lots of information. But so it's like including your body, including the future you're creating, including your cash flow, including everything about your life, and not just, I don't feel like it. Because I see that occur sometimes, that, and then people wonder why they don't have money. And I'm like, okay, well, you got to include everything about your life and go, okay, what can I choose here? What's required? What else is possible? The moment you stop including, then you're inevitably leaving something or somebody behind. And so that's, I think, is the dance and the practice of crafting, anything.
Yeah, I think because for me personally, it's come up. I've had a lot of body stuff or health stuff playing out over the last year, and just being an allowance for what's been happening physically for me, and just really noticing I don't have the energy to hold it. Like I want to be running my events and workshops, and have I made this a significant story now and using it as a distractor? What is my body just really needing some time out?
Well, I would say it's probably maybe both. Like physically, it's been a very, very different year for me as well. Like I've had many more things physically than I ever have. And so I've needed to function different. I mean, there's been a need for a lot more space for my body. And also like really looking at, okay, so it's like including everything. So if I don't have the space to function the same way that I did, which I didn't, it was like totally changed. Number one, is there another way that this can work that I haven't considered? Do I need to adjust the way I'm living, to care for my body in a different way? So instead of like forcing everything forward with the projection and the expectation that, I have to do this because this is the way I've always done that, that's not a question. You go into question and really go, okay, cool. So I can't function the way I did before. Okay, awesome. So what else is possible here that I haven't considered? And literally just flipping your own script and again, setting yourself on your own creative edge, going, okay, it's impossible to go back. We can only go forward. I'm different. My body's different. Now what? How does this work?
Yeah, thank you. I realized I was coming to a lot of conclusions and just deciding to stay in that same energy and creating from the past, going back to reference points that I've already thinking that I'm creating from that when I'm not. It's just because I know it, I'm using it. Yeah.
I mean, a lot, I think getting used to not referencing anything is a skill that's pretty required as a humanoid in business, because especially if you guys are into access consciousness, because you're constantly destroying and uncreating everything about you. And then you wonder why you can't find you, because you doesn't really exist. There's only choice. So when you try to reference anything, you're always going to stick yourself, because you don't exist as that anymore. You are absolutely new with absolutely new things. So nothing about your past is actually relevant unless you make it so. And so that's a skill. I think it's a skill. It's like something you just have to really, you get over and over in different ways. Like, oh yeah, I'm trying to do what I was doing before. Never mind.
Fatima, I was with you on that one. That's a big bang moment for me too. It's like you're trying to find yourself, but you don't exist anymore because you've changed so much.
But, and actually, you never did exist. So the things that go away are the things we've made solid about anything. Those are the things that always disappear. So lies disappear, definitions disappear, form and structure and significances disappear. So what you're left with is the energy and the space and the consciousness of you, which is it doesn't feel like anything. It's subtle, and yet everything. It's everything. And so how do you begin to create as energy and as space and as consciousness? Well, we have 4 things that are actually creation: choice, question, possibility, and contribution. But again, it's like, okay, so taking those from the conceptual brain material down into your life is, to me, the entirety of what we're doing here. Like we're actually using business and money as an excuse to learn how to become an infinite being. Like how do you do infinite being? Well, what do you want to choose? What question can you ask? Where are the possibilities? What's lighter, And you start to train yourself to function beyond feelings. Like, well, I don't feel like it today, and I do feel like it today, is lower harmonic. It's okay. It'll get you somewhere. It'll get you as far as it does. And then what? Now what? Now when you have no reference point, now when you've changed totally, now when, you need something different to access something different, what tools do you use? So it's not always comfortable. In fact, there's most of the time it's pretty uncomfortable because you don't know what you're doing, and you never know what you're doing, and you're never comfortable about it. And yet can be this like thrilling exhilaration of being alive in that, right? Like jumping onto a wave. Sure, maybe you know how to surf, but you have no idea what the ocean's going to do in that moment. You have to stay so present or that thing will crush you. What if the same was true about living? How present would you need to be in order to get access to what you're truly capable of?
It's so fascinating when you say business, your life is your business, the business is your life.
Yeah.
Can you articulate a little bit on that one, please?
Well, so I can start with saying that what got me creating this particular business, because I've been in business before, and I've created other businesses from, this will be a great idea. So I owned a pizzeria for 3 years, and we bought it because this will be a great idea. We went bankrupt. I was a landscape designer, freelance for a while. And actually that was a great idea, and I did do it, and, with a lot of ease. This business but it wasn't created from it was partially created from what I want my life to be like. The pizzeria wasn't created from what do I want my life to be like. The pizzeria was like, this will be a great idea. I can do this. No problem. Give it. And then bankruptcy. The landscape design was partially created from what do I want my life to be like. I had enough awareness to look at, okay, if I'm going to totally change my career, I want to like it. So what are the elements that I know that I like? So it was created from that. And so I chose it, got a lot of awareness. This business was created from how do I want to live? Instead of like, what's the good idea that I have that I can proliferate in the world? How do I want to live? And so I knew like 3 things, maybe 2. I knew that I wanted to be able to work from anywhere in the world, which meant internet. Okay, cool. That's not a brick and mortar business. That's a different kind of business. And I knew that I wanted to take tons of access classes, and I knew that I wanted to have the money to do all of that with ease. And so from those 3 things, from those 3 things, I started to pull into my universe the different ways that could show up. And that's how that works. You just get a sense of something, and you start kind of like bashing around, trying things, choosing things to see what the way forward with that is. And so worked for other facilitators, and then started to kind of do some of my own stuff, and then quit my own stuff because nobody was coming. And it was a real clunky way forward, but I kept going. I kept, and that's how that works. You just keep going. So to me, like, your business is your life, and your life is your business is like, this business doesn't exist without me including the way I want to live. This business is an overflow, is an expression of how I want to live, and the impact I want to have on the world. And it's the things that come out of, it's what success is for me, supports the way I want to live. So that's what that is for me. I don't know that that's what that is for everybody, and so like everything that I choose in the business comes out of, well, what's going to be ease for me? How can I create this in a way that where, if I'm traveling, what's required? While I'm living, I'm including the business instead of the business like running my life. They're both this they dance together. And if you included you in how you're creating your business? And if you haven't, how could you, And also just really looking at like, what do you want your life to be like? What is that for you? What kind of flexibility and malleability and people and impact and everything, that's an exercise that Gary takes us through in Write Riches for You that I think is just so brilliant. If you guys haven't studied that book, it's a masterclass on generating your life. And, he tells his story, which I think we've all probably heard. But that's exactly how it works. Okay, well, I know these 3 things. Okay, cool. So what would it take to be willing to have that? And then things start to show up and you follow those things. Access is a set of tools and techniques that you can use to change and create anything that you'd like to have. So we have body tools and we have verbal tools. And so there's all of these. So it's just like the billion means, methods, and modalities that we can employ to get you these tools. And so it's really starting to look at, where can I start with this? Like when I found my first exposure to access consciousness was 2 words, access consciousness, on an old friend from Bible school's Facebook profile. We'd lost touch. I went searching for her. I found her. I added her as a friend. And then, of course, I looked at her and what's she doing? She had access consciousness listed as her employer. And I was like, what is this? That's all it took. I didn't hear anything. I didn't know anything. And so, of course, I went onto Google and was thoroughly confused because there's stuff everywhere. Everybody's saying something and nobody's starting at the beginning. So you just find a bunch of random facilitators and things. And so and then I went to the Access Consciousness website and I was totally confused by that. It's a massive galaxy of choice. So I had to continue to kind of pull and pull and pull for like 2 weeks. And then I finally found a facilitator like me, near me. And I'm like, can you help me? Like, where do I start with this? And she's like, well, you can start anywhere you want. What's light for you? And I was like, what are you talking about? So she introduced me to light and heavy, which is really one of the first conversations in Access that continues to get more and more advanced the more you do Access, which is what is light is true for you and what is heavy isn't true. And you can use this as a way to guide yourself forward when you have no idea what to choose from a cognitive place. You're just following something you can't articulate. So she's like, well, what's light for you? So having no idea how to use this tool, I she's like, you can do a session or a class. I was grateful because she said you could choose anything. And then she gave me 2 choices, which was really helpful. And so I was like, session, class, session, class. I like trying to do it right, because do it right. And, I'm weighing them in front of me. I had no idea. So I just chose a session. I just guessed. And she ran my bars and I was not a quiet bars recipient. I talked the whole session. So many questions. And thankfully she was a certified facilitator. So she had all kinds of tools to contribute to me. So she was running my bars and I'm like asking all these questions. I'm like, well, what about money? And what about relationships? And what about literally the whole time we pock and potted? I got awarenesses of like past life stuff. It was just this like epiphany after epiphany after change after epiphany while she was running my bars. And bars are 32 points on your head that somebody just lightly touches. And most of the time when you get your bars run, you relax so much you fall asleep. But I didn't do that. I was like, so anyway, I got off the massage table from getting my bars run and I literally in my body felt like it was floating. I was like 10,000 pounds lighter, just totally different. And my friend had driven me to my session. Neither one of us knew what to expect. Will you be able to walk after? Like, how's this going to go? And I'm like, I don't know, maybe drive me. So I'm walking out the house to the car where she was, waiting for me. And I get in and I look at her and she looks at me and she's like, well, and I'm like, what just happened? I don't know what just happened. And so, like that's how Access works. you have no idea what just happened. You have no idea what it is you're getting yourself into. You only know that you're getting yourself into it. And so you start where you start. You can start with a bars session. You can start with a bars class. You can just start by going to YouTube and watching a bunch of videos and not have any idea what they're talking about. You can start with the clearing statement at theclearingstatement.com. You literally can start anywhere. And what as intimidating as that can be or can seem, it's brilliant, because what it starts to introduce to you and to me is that I always know where to start. I just don't know that I know. And so you always lead yourself to the things that are going to get you to where you're going next, always. So if you're here, trust you. You chose this. There's something about this that you were like, and that's what's right about you. If you can't look away, just keep going forward with that, because that's you leading you. And that's what's brilliant about you. Just keep following and not having any idea what you're doing and not have any idea how to explain access to anybody else. Don't worry about that part. That part's not important. The seekers always find. And if you're here, you're seeking and you're finding. So keep doing that. You know, access will start to make more sense or not as you go.
Tell us a story about how you start to make money with your bar business.
My bars business? Yeah, okay, cool. Wow, how did I do this? So I was working as a bartender, like managing a restaurant. I've been doing hospitality since I was 18. At the time I found access, I was 38. I was separated from my second husband. I was starting over again. Here I was back in the restaurant that I kept trying to get out of for like 20 years, 30 years, 18 to 48. Is that 30 years? Jesus. Yeah, long time. So it was this another in-between moment where I, whatever. And so I was planning on, and I was planning on going back to school. I'd gotten accepted to a nutrition school and all this stuff. But then I found access and I took a bars class, and then I took foundation, and foundation was like, blew the lid off my entire world. Everything changed. So I recognized, so in that moment, I changed everything. I was like, I am going to be a certified facilitator. I'm on, and I'm like, how am I going to do this? I work at a restaurant. I have to be there to make money. And I only make kind of this much money. I think I was making like at the top of my game, $3,000 a month, which reasonable by anybody's standards. And yet I wanted this huge life shift. So I was like, what else is possible was really the question I started asking. Like, what else can I do here? So I recognized that I knew how to do bars. I didn't really have a big interest in bars. And I think this is important to say, because I hear some people say, I like getting my bars run, but I don't really want to teach it. And I was like, yeah, I didn't either. But what I did want was more money, and I wanted to live different. So I'm always honest about that, because it doesn't really matter if you're a huge fan or not a huge fan, or it doesn't really matter. It's like, what means, methods, and modalities can you use to change your life? So I recognized I could do bars, and I wasn't going to be a bars facilitator, but then I recognized that if I chose to be a bars facilitator, I could facilitate the class. So I saw some financial possibilities there. And so that was the first step. So that is always the first step to starting to make money with something, is going, what can I do with this, And then realized I didn't have anybody that knew about bars. Like, how was I going to do this? So the first thing I recognized is that I needed people with heads. Was as deep as the thought went. I'm like, I need people that have heads to put them in my hands so that we can do this thing called bars. This is how deep and meaningful my conversations with myself are. So I was like, okay, well, I'm around people with heads. I see heads here. So how do I do this? So I just started with like the people that I was kind of closest to, the people I was working with. And I was like, I was totally uncomfortable, because I didn't know how to explain bars. I didn't even really like bars that much. But I was like, hey, I just learned this new thing. Do you want to try it? Yeah, when? I mean, and so the people that were like super into change and all that stuff were like, yes, what is this? You know, that's the thing about seekers, is the moment you bring up access or bars, the people that are looking light up. They're like, yeah. And the people that have no interest don't. And so it's actually incredibly easy because you don't have to sell it. Even we were in Cali, Colombia, like a month or two ago. And just the random people that we would run into and bring up the words access consciousness, people would go, what is that? Like there's something in the energy of bars and access consciousness that doesn't need explanation. So that's all I did. I just started putting my hands on heads for free. I'm like, just come over, I'll do this thing. I said, I don't know how much I'm charging yet. I just need to start. So I started doing free things. And then I think I started charging like $20 for just something. And then I think I raised my prices to $40. But I was still like, only had like a client or two or three. I don't know. It was not that many. And then one day, I think they had assigned calling the new bars facilitators to the certified facilitators. And I got a call from a certified facilitator in BC. And she was like, I was just about to go work. So I was in a rush. I didn't really have a lot of time. And she's like, hi, this is from BC. And I'm like, oh my God, hi, weird, random. I like it. And I said, I don't have a lot of time. And she's like, well, is there anything I can contribute to you or your business? And I was like, and then I told her the story. I'm like, I don't know. It's really hard. I live in a small town. It's mostly humans here. I don't know. And I can't. And she's like, well, what if you started asking this question? What energy, space, and consciousness can me and my body be to be the energy, space, and consciousness of a global business right here with total ease? Furiously scribbling this, And I was like, thank you. Yeah, I'll do that. And that's all I changed. I just started asking what energy, space, and consciousness can me and my body be to be the energy, space, and consciousness of a global business right here in small town Kincardine with total ease and everything that doesn't allow it. So times a gazillion, I destroyed and created all right, wrong, good, bad, pod, poc, all nine shorts, boys, poets, and I put it on a post-it note right by on my desk. I just, I don't know how many times I asked it. And then, you just live. And I was living and I went and got I got myself a massage. I don't get massages. I don't know. I said, yes, I went and got this massage and ended up speaking to this lady about bars. And she was just in tears, like in tears of relief that bars existed. And so I ran her bars and her entire life changed like one time. And she became the connector that my business needed to tell everybody else about bars. And my business just started to grow. And that was that. Like, as soon as I was willing to like be global instead of be small town, I'm limited by the small town. I can't because of the small town. I don't know very. As soon as I started to choose to be something different, all these different possibilities showed up, and she was one of them. And that's the thing about your business. It doesn't really take a lot of people. It literally takes like one or two raving fans to just explode things in a really different way. And so Gary Douglas says, ask for 30 to 40 connectors for your business. It only took one for me. So 30 to 40, what would that create? And that's how I started making money. And, I didn't track it. I don't know how much money I made with my bars business, but it was enough to like get me to the next thing. And I think that's something else to recognize is you can create your bars business into this like thriving entity that just is. There's a lady in Hungary who's doing 60-person, 70-person bars classes that just started asking like, what would it take to have big bars classes? And when you start to ask that question, you become it. You choose it when you choose it and you ask it. And so you can have that. You can have whatever you want. I just really wanted enough to get to the next choice and to the next choice. And so that's how I created it. But, what do you want to have? What can you ask that and choose that would allow it to show up with a lot of ease?
Emotions. My friend Sam he's here with me. Like, we really said the month of May, we're really going to create and bulldoze and, really create. And we're seeing things. Yeah, really.
I love it. I love it so
much. Change. We're really like seeing and witnessing a big, massive, expansive change.
Cool.
And in that change, I'm seeing myself gaining people and losing people, and
yeah, that's normal.
you know, and it's like, and then I'm like slowing myself down because I don't know if I'm willing to gain any more people. And
Yeah, you're going to gain and lose and gain and lose and gain, and none of it's significant. It's just like, who else? What else? Who else? What else? Who else? What else? Like, how much would you have to strengthen you in order to choose that? Because there's always going to be, you're always going to be tempted to go down a distractor implant road of like, oh my God, I've lost the last people. I mean, you know, that there's always the temptation of feelings, of course. I get it. I do them. And to continue being this incredible source that you are, you've got to get stronger in parts of you, probably all of you, honestly. And you've got to recognize that there's a strength required now to not have a point of view when people leave or go or come or any of it. All of it is just interesting. And so, okay, cool. Someone signed up for our class. Cool. Who else? Okay, cool. Someone dropped out of our class. Who else? Like a strengthening, interesting point of view inside of you. So what would that take? You know, what would you have to be with you to establish this really amazing platform for receiving everything with ease, leaving and going with no point of view? Business and money are the consistent, persistent facilitation of you taking up the challenge of who you truly are. And you are not pathetic and you are not weak. You are amazing and powerful. And you find that out by diving in. You know, it's like you find out, I don't know why the ocean keeps coming up. I think I'm just in Australia in my world, but you know, like you find out what you're made of when you first get on a surfboard in the ocean, and then you change and you choose and you reach deeper into yourself and you find strength that maybe you didn't know you had. And that's true of everything, right? Not just the ocean, but nature tends to show us things about ourselves quicker than, you know, than maybe we can see in the world of business. But business is the same and money is the same. So you'll either be swept away by the wave or you'll learn how to ride it. And it is a wave. It's just like, okay, cool. People coming in, people going out. My email list like has every single time I go through a big shift, I drop like 1,000 people from my email list. They just disappear. Like they're no longer there with me. And then it grows in a different way. So now I'm used to it. 5 years in, 6 years into actively creating, I just did a big cleanup the other day. I'm like, yep, cool. Bye. I wonder who else is there. Joy of business? Yeah.
So I heard it slip in there. I was like, joy of business?
Yeah. I just I'm official now. I've been facilitating business for like 6 years, but now I'm official. Yeah. It's that. It's an introduction to the tools of access consciousness with money and business. And your questions will stimulate where we can go with it. So it's like if you could ask anything that would empower you to lead yourself forward with money and business, what would it be? And that's when we'll go.